We're back. We're back to share more of my adventure, my pilgrimage. So many people have been asking, what did I do in my year sabbatical? And I can't think of a better way to share my experience than to invite you to experience some of the people that I got to meet. And really my anchor, my core first contact in South Africa was Rhianne, who is one of the co-founders and directors, co-director of the Shakti Shiva Academy that was founded by Shakti Milan, who became a big influence in my life after she passed. And her legacy lives on through all that you do there, Rhianne. And I want to talk about that and so much more. But first, I want to say welcome and hello.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you for having this conversation. It feels really special to be reconnecting with you.
Yeah, it has been a year. It's
Wow,
been a year.
really?
Yeah. I was there in your fall. We arrived in March and stayed March, April, and May.
Yeah,
So,
correct.
yeah. So it's interesting that I did flip and say that you were a co-founder, and I'm curious why I said that, because you were there when Shakti Milan began the Shakti Shiva Academy, right? Or early on.
Yeah, I was really super fortunate to journey alongside her and be a student of hers, and of course a friend and a colleague over the years. And I describe myself as her left-hand woman. So I really got to organize all of her in-person events and retreats, which meant I got to immerse myself in all of those experiences, from swimming with the dolphins to working with our sexuality and the shadow of our sexuality, to gathering as women and doing our work, our sexual awakening work, embodying the feminine, rewilding, meeting the masculine, initiating that dance, that inner dance of the inner beloved between the masculine and feminine.
Which is so much of what I got to do with you through some of the workshops and just conversations. And for anyone who's Shakti Milan, besides Googling her, which you're welcome to do, and going to Shakti Shiva's website, which is below, this is her book, Sexual Awakening for Women, which I was introduced to her really in a haphazard kind of way. I was looking for a coach mentor, and I met Tobin in Maui, and I was reading his bio, and it said that he had studied tantra, and I followed the link. Who'd he study with? And it took me to Shakti, and I had an instant yes. And it was a body yes. It was a full, definitely in the heart, but also just my whole being remembered. And I feel like we're in a powerful time on the planet right now where a lot of us are remembering, and we're calling in our tribe, our soul community. So you say, oh yeah, tell me what your feelings are about what's happening over in South Africa and on the planet from your perspective.
I was really feeling that the remembering is also, it's like a coming into our bodies. It's that embodiment. It's that ancient knowing of the body that carries, I would say, like the longing, our soul's longing, our heart's deepest longing, to meet that body of sensation, to drop into the ground of being, and to have the direct experience, to know ourselves as not separate from everything, not separate from this planet that we live on. To really know that our bodies are made from the mud of the earth. Our bodies are the clay of the earth. And that was what evoked for me that excitement of embodiment. It's like when that happens for a human on their journey, in their process, it's full of delight and pleasure and agony and ecstasy. It's the full range of the human feeling spectrum, and the willingness, the agreement to feel everything. And I think that is the invitation to each of us walking on the earth right now.
When I set my intention for the year of taking my sabbatical, taking a spiritual pilgrimage, I was at a yoga class, and I had brought to the yoga class actually this very spaciousness of knowing that, before we start anything, for me at least, being clear on my intention, my bigger why, which is so much the feminine, the how being the masculine, the why being the feminine. Why am I giving myself this gift of space and time? And what just the word that came to me, and this was a year and a half ago, embodiment. To be an embodiment of the soul self, to actually experience more of my being through the physicality, not so much the mind. And so, I mean, I know, having spent time with you, you so bring that out in people through your nature walks, your breath work. You're bringing together groups, the armoring workshop we did together, the sweat lodge we did together. And I want to go deeper into what, what brought you into becoming more of a fully embodied person. What brought you to this experience of breath and sexual liberation and living this purposeful, totally life of a devotee of truth?
Well, I'm going to give you the super short version. But essentially, I guess I was what you would call a walking head, very disembodied, super academic and intellectual and thinking everything, absolutely everything, with thinking feelings, no access to sensation really in the body, very little, should I say. And yeah, I guess the short of it is that my life fell apart classically round about midlife, 41-ish. And in that process of having the rug pulled out from under my feet, and I guess the way I was wired in my family of origin and my culture, my religion, all of that structure just sort of broke, imploded. And in that process, the embodiment started to happen all of itself. And at that time, I didn't even know what a chakra was, or the kundalini was. I didn't know those terms, but it had started happening to me. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. It felt brutal at the time, of course, but it was the most beautiful, revealing, an invitation to plummet on that vertical axis into the underworld, down into the feminine, into the body of sensation. And at the same time, on the axis, the transcendent axis, really developing the capacity of my masculine stillness, presence, spaciousness, silence, emptiness. And in that expansion, holding the depth to which the body of sensation can open up. And then I guess also just following my pleasure. That was a big piece for me. And that was a big key that Shakti held and gave to so many of us was, what do you really, really want? How much bliss can you stand? How alive are you willing to be? How much pleasure are you willing to feel? And I really carry those questions with me daily and live them in this crazy, wild ride of being in a body.
I want to take note of a lot of what you just said, because it's the journey. It's the journey that so many of us have taken, are taking, might be revisiting. As I see it, it is quite a cycle, that evolution, and that part about like feeling the sensations and actually going to the place where it is, sometimes it can be, you said, agonizing, it can be painful, because we have been programmed in my upbringing, in my culture, to really numb a lot of those feelings. And that's Shakti's work too. I mean, that is tantra, to liberate the shadow. That's awakening, to bring consciousness to what was unconscious. And it's not just the thoughts we're thinking that are unconscious, it's actually physical, stuck pain, emotional pain. And so, yeah, I too have had a few of those opportunities where the rug got pulled out under me. I think we all have, and we grow in that. But what you've also really introduced here, and I think is so important for those of us on the path, is we can grow through our pleasure, we can grow through our joy. And even that sometimes can be challenging, because it's walking through some of the places that are taboo, which you teach a great course. What is the name of the kind of intro Shakti Shiva course that you teach again? That I took, I think. Yeah.
It's called Desire, Fear, and Taboo.
Yeah. And you changed the name recently. That's why I didn't know for sure. Okay. Desire, fear, and taboo. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the work that we're sharing is looking at our shadow, particularly our sexual shadow. And a big part of that is our capacity for pleasure, and our willingness to feel pleasure, and particularly for those of us in female bodies. And I really feel that if you're in a female body on the planet at this time, then you do have a pleasure purpose. But are you willing to be that? Are you willing to be a channel to birth more pleasure into the world? Because our sexuality is so convoluted as women, and I could talk, this is a whole separate conversation. And so conditioned, we're so conditioned to be the object of desire, and that movement into becoming the subject of our own desire, that is the embodiment and the opening into pleasure. And for me, this piece, it's about relaxation, like opening and expanding. And this is where we use the breath, like every in-breath, we open and expand to take in more, to be more available to life, to be penetrated by existence. And then on every out breath, we simply relax and let go. And so every breath is an opportunity to open and expand, and to relax and let go. And the pleasure is definitely in the relaxation. And I mean, you'll know, most of us living these modern, relentlessly busy, crazy, stupid, goal-oriented lives, we're so disconnected from relaxation, from real relaxation in our bodies.
I want to feel into the breath with you for a moment, because the most impactful breath session I ever did was with you. And that was at Bodhi Retreat Center in South Africa. And you led a beautiful session, and your transmission in leading it to really bring us to that open, to that relaxation. I don't know that I had ever before experienced so much ease in my being that allowed what naturally wanted to happen, which was very blissful, full body vibration bliss. So beyond the genital orgasm, right? Like a real whole expansive, I could just feel my field, to like, almost a disappearing kind of an energy.
Mm.
So that was my experience in your offering breath for that period of time. And what is it about breath that is so powerful in your experience as a gateway to that relaxing, to that embodiment, to that really feeling sensation? And in my case, really feeling
Mm.
more than pleasure, bliss, ecstasy, desire. I mean, it was alive.
Yeah, it's profound, isn't it? And it's just so remarkably simple, because essentially, the spiritual breathing, it's based on the holotropic breath work. So it's essentially just a continuous, connected, circular breath. So in breath and out breath, no pauses, no gaps. We're just simply turning the breath like a wheel, in and out and in. The in-breath becomes the out-breath. The out-breath becomes the in-breath. And we contribute to the in-breath. We gently, with awareness and consciousness, bring our presence, and we take every in-breath, and then we let go and relax on every out-breath. And doing that for a period of time, let's say 20 minutes, particularly in a group, you would have noticed that group feel, the group energy is very powerful in creating an environment for the undoing of our tightly held selves. And so the breath is simply the medicine, and we agree to take the medicine. We trust the medicine, and we let go. We let the medicine do its work. And it's profound. I mean, for me, that realization as to how little we are breathing throughout our daily lives, how contracted we are, how the breath is it's keeping us alive, but we're not using the breath to thrive. We're not using the breath to create bliss states, high vibration to create from the breath. And that's the pleasure when we start to use the breath to open and expand and to relax and let go. Something truly remarkable happens. And it's grace. No one breathwork session is the same. And that's why I always laugh when people say, oh, I already did a holotropic breathwork session. I'm like, okay, you're a bucket list person. And good luck to you, because it's really a practice that, we can do all the time. And that state that we reach in a breathwork session, like so much of the modern seeker's goal is these peak states, and we're hopping from one experience to the next, which actually isn't that useful and is a distraction ultimately. And so the breath really, a session shouldn't have a beginning and an ending, because the breath just goes on and on and on. It's the in-breath followed by the out-breath, followed by the in-breath. And every breath is an opportunity. Every breath is a blessing, a prayer. Every breath is an invitation for so much pleasure to enter our body-mind system.
And to bring
And
us right here, to bring us right here now.
Exactly.
So clearing.
Yeah.
So much falls away, even talking about like the sexual shadow before, right? So much falls away, even those fears, when we come into that now. And that's been my experience. That as I enter more of the awakening and the expansion, and sometimes I don't even know, and the ecstasy and the next breath work, it can be tears and grief without stories, right? Without all the stories
Absolutely,
attached.
yeah.
How do you do the breath work sessions online? Because I know you're now offering online breath work through the Shakti Shiva Academy.
Yeah, we offer a monthly drop-in class, and I'm really loving sharing the breath, and it's actually beautiful to share the breath online, People get to create their own space, and the breathwork journey itself is about half an hour. So it's not as long or deep or in depth as, say, an in-person session like the one we did. I sometimes do breathwork sessions up to 2 hours when we're on like the Red Retreat or a big gathering of people. It's really lovely and juicy to really breathe together. But I've been keeping it shorter for the online and experimenting with that, and it's been really working really beautifully. People have been having profound experiences of themselves and how the breath opens them up to the body of sensation. Yeah. So the online breathing is a beautiful place to gather, and it's working really, really well.
That's something I really respect about what you're doing with the Academy, is opening it up in such a way that people from all over the globe can participate, and playing with those time zone differences. As we talk, the sun is setting, it's becoming dark for you, and the sun is coming out for me. And that's, but it's wonderful. It's wonderful that you're offering it online. And then there's also more and more in-person events coming up now. You just mentioned the Red Retreat. Maybe that could be our last little conversation is, let's talk about Red Retreats. Like, what are they? Why are they so profound? And then what is the offering that you all do in your spring? Yeah.
So the Red Retreat was birthed as a co-creation between 4 women, all based here in South Africa. And this year in October will be our 5th annual gathering of wild women, and we gather on the banks of a beautiful river. And the invitation is to come to remember, back to the very beginning of our conversation, to remember our wildness, to remember the truth, to really get in touch with what's important, and to support each other as women in the process. Because so many women don't have a good experience of sisterhood. In our school, we call it the Women's Union, but there's this opportunity to transform the archetype of the Women's Union, which is that part of us as women that looks at other women and criticizes and polices and patrols, almost upholding the patriarchy, the very thing that we say we don't want and we don't like, but we're the ones who unconsciously keep it in check. And what we have the opportunity to do is to transform that into a circle of sisterhood and into a gathering of the crones. And we do a lot of embodiment practices together. We weep, we celebrate, we sweat, we dance. Yeah, we gather together, we sing our songs. And the invitation is to join us.
Yeah. Having had some sisterhood time with you and others in the community, it's just delicious. And it's really refreshing coming from the United States to enter into a more sex positive culture, a more also a culture with just a little bit more of an ease around our bodies. And, if we're talking about embodiment, it really starts with loving this vessel as it is, whatever shape, not getting caught up in the shoulds or the have tos or the looking a certain way, focusing more on how it feels in the body. And I really felt that in the sisterhood and the deep relationships that in those 3 months in South Africa, I really cultivated. And look at us, we've stayed in touch, and I love our WhatsApp messages and deepening and in our relationship. I love watching you and the Academy evolve too.
Thank you, Joy. You've been such a great support.
That's because
It's been wonderful
I'm
See,
remembering the tribe. I mean, I know that, while I didn't get to meet Shakti Milan in person,
mm,
I have felt her and met her through others for sure,
yeah,
including, her teachers and colleagues and students.
yeah,
Uh, and I just know that I feel her. She's very
mm,
much living through all of us who have that similar resonance, that we are ready to bring in the mythos. Let's bring it
mm,
back, live and transcend the archetypes, and become more fully embodied. Bring back that
mm,
experience. Okay,
yeah.
so we're going to leave some notes down below, but anything you'd like to just invite people to or share about the academy, because I'm sure people are curious now.
I rather than share anything specific about what we're offering, of course, all the details will be below. But I think the parting piece is, what Shakti gifted me and many others was that notion of becoming your own best beloved, of falling more deeply in love with yourself, and becoming more of who I really am. And that's whatever that means for each of us. And so that's the piece that we really honor and hold here. And it feels like here on the southern tip of Africa, there's something very alive in the land, in the environment, in the way polarities are structured, that to be out of the comfort zone of the north of the USA or Europe, there's something that is held here that is quite primal, quite embodied, and it's an invitation to step out of your comfort zone and come and explore, I guess, both online and on the online space and potentially in person as well. Yeah.
Life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
Love Africa.
Game changer for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you on so many levels, my friend.
Yeah.
All right. And thank you.
So
Thank
much
you,
love.
everyone, for being with us and being on this journey. Clearly, we are gathering together devotees of truth. And if you have any thoughts or questions, you're welcome to comment below. All right. Until we meet again.